We begin today's recording by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are on. I am on Burrawang land. Where are you, Breezer?
I am on the land of the Djajarurrung people.
We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are tuning in today.
And wherever you're listening to the potty today, make sure you know whose land you're on. Join us each week for some booze-free banter about life without booze.
If you're entertaining cutting back your booze by a day, a week, a month, or for the rest of your life, we would love for you to tune in.
Buckle up and come along for a ride that may just change your life. Just a heads up, some of the conversations we have may be triggering. Reach out to your local support centre in Australia. That's Lifeline 131144.
Chuck in a can. I've run out of cans, Breezer.
Meso's out of Altina drinks via the cans. So
got real piggy on them.
Now you're being piggy on the bottle. What have you got there, Meso, in your hot little hands?
I've got the LeBlanc in a glass and I've got on display the Sangria.
Very nice. And today I'm drinking the Altina LeBlanc in a can. And for our listeners, we have an exclusive discount code. It's BFB10, and you can shop up a storm and get 10% off Altina drinks at www.altinadrinks.com. We love you, Altina.
We love you.
Meso.
Breezer.
OMG.
OMG, OMG, OMG. Sweet Jesus, Mary, Mother, Joseph and the three disciples.
What an incredible guest we have just had on.
Oh, my Lord. I've got to hand it over to you. I've got no words. He's just so extraordinary.
Isn't
what
he?
What a guy.
Isn't he?
What a guy.
Like you said at the end of the potty, can we just clone him?
Yeah. Yes.
We won't leave you in any further suspense, peeps. His name is Cooper Chapman. He's 28. He's having 12 months off the booze. He talks about that each week in his podcast, 28 and Sober. He is the founder of the Good Human Factory. Now, I'm sure many of our listeners have already heard of the Good Human Factory. They are an organisation that raises awareness about mental health. He does workshops. He goes around to corporates. He goes around to high schools, and he talks about mental health. Incredible. He also does a podcast. He's got two other podcasts, 1% Club, which is all about gratitude, and the Good Human Factory the Good Humans podcast, which he interviews people on a Friday. And you're speechless, aren't you, Mason?
I've got nothing. I really am. Like I'm just hanging off every word he says. So
just a little side note. He's also a pro surfer. Like hello, pro surfer. Like. He's got a bit going on. And he's also, there's another one. He's a co-owner of Gravity Seltzer. Seltzer.
Yeah.
Which is a range of alcoholic beverages and non-alcoholic beverages. So doing good things. And I actually loved how he spoke about Gravity in saying that, you know, they are a company that's mindful drinkers, would you say, Meso?
Yeah.
Or just
giving people options, normalising it. Inclusion. He was all about inclusion. Yeah.
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 He's just a bloody rock star and so humble.
So humble. Just going about his business, just like being helpful. He just wants to help and he does. You'll have to, the last little bit he speaks about, you know, how it all started and he unpacked that. And he's just a helpful guy. Just wants to make people better human beings.
Yeah.
Through his own experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's curious.
Always wanting to learn. He's got a cracking quote at the end, which we're not going to do a spoiler alert because I know that grabbed you, Meso, and it grabbed me as well. Yeah. But it's a cracking quote. And the Good Human Factory also sell some merch. I'm actually going to jump online now and get some after this.
Same. And the discount code's at the end. He drops it at the end as well. So that's that. So you get 25% off. So how good.
How good.
Let's have it.
What do you reckon? Let's bring him in. Here is Cooper Chapman. A big, warm Booze-Free Bants welcome to our very special guest, Cooper Chapman. Cooper, welcome to Booze-Free Bants.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be hanging out with some more sober people.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I do have to share a quick story with you before we get into the potty. I have come very close to talking to two professional surfers before. So I grew up idolising like Taj Burrows, Nick Fanning, Shane Dorian, Kelly Slater, of course. And I was at the 1998, which I actually did the maths in my head, Cooper. You would have been like 4 years old. I was at the 98 Rip Curl Pro, and I saw Mark Occhilupo in the car park. And I was like, oh, g'day, Occhi. And he's like, hi, how are you? So that was a bit of a thrill. And then I was at a conference in Hawaii in the early sort of 2000s, and big wave surfer Laird Hamilton was there. So I got to chat to him as well. But I haven't had a proper sit-down chat. And who would have thought we're talking about sobriety?
I know. It doesn't usually go hand in hand, surfing and sobriety, but hey, it's nice to be not normal sometimes.
Yeah, it's got a good ring to it, actually. I like it.
Yeah.
So we are going to throw you straight into the deep end, Cooper, and we are going to hear from you a confession session.
Confession session. It's time to play. Where you tell us what you're ashamed to say.
I've got two that come to mind. I'm trying to think which one I should tell.
You're allowed to say both.
Okay, I can. Both of them are kind of long, but they're both kind of funny. So I'll tell you the first one. Both of them are actually bad because I was underage for both of them. But anyway, funny stories. So when I was like 15, I think, I went to my first ever World Junior Surfing Championships, getting to represent Australia, and it was in a place in Ecuador. And I was 15 at the time, and there's under 16s and under 18s, and we back then, this is like, 13, 14 years ago. So this is when culturally surfing was, the coaches were a bit more ingrained into letting the kids have their fun. Anyway, so we just won the world title as a team, Australia. And for some reason, Team Australia booked us on a flight the night of the last day of the event. So we're all like, we couldn't even celebrate with all the other teams. So I was like pretty good friends with a lot of the older boys, like the 16 and 17-year-olds. And I ended up going and getting like on the bus back to the airport. We took like 4 or 5 long necks each. And I'm like a 15-year-old kid. So like not a good mix, me and 4 long necks. So I'm sitting at the back. So I'm sitting at the back of the bus, and I end up hammered, and I pass out on the bus, and the boys all draw all over my face with like a gold Posca pen. So that's like the start of the story. So then we like getting off the bus to get a flight from Ecuador to Chile, and then Chile back to Australia. And we get off the bus, and I'm just hammered. So I like basically collapse onto my face getting off the bus, and my dad is luckily there as well, but he's like pretty sauced up as well, sitting at the front of the bus celebrating because we'd all just like Team Australia won a gold medal. It was epic. But then I'm so hammered that they're like, he's not going to be able to check in. You're going to have to stay here with him in Ecuador for a night, Dave. And I was just like, oh my God. So I get taken to a hospital in the airport. Like they have like a medical center in the airport. And I remember them putting me like on a bed, and I was like, I just need to like fall asleep. So I remember falling asleep, and my dad said I was asleep for 10 minutes, and I woke up and I felt fine. It was still one of the weirdest experiences ever. So then I end up checking in for my flight, starting to feel average again. And then I remember like getting on the plane, just being so like not well. And then I ended up sitting next to my mate. And when the plane took off, I was like, all right, I gotta go to the bathroom. I don't feel well. And I went to the toilet on like a 6-hour flight, and it felt like it was 10 seconds. And I must have fallen asleep on the toilet. And I woke up with a flight attendant knocking on the door going like, hey, we're about to land. You got to get off. I'd slept the whole flight because I was so drunk
in the toilet
on the plane at like 15. Yeah, so that was that's one. And then ended up in Chile, hungover for the day, and then ended up getting home. And I somehow got invited to compete for Australia the next 3 years after that. So I didn't get in as much trouble as looking back that you probably would now. So that was one that's and the other one, I was 17 and I'd just finished school, and I'd gone to schoolies in Bali and had like a hell time, felt like I was, an adult. And then for my dad's 50th, me and the family went on a family cruise, and I'd never been on a cruise before, but I was kind of like, oh, I don't really want to go, but I was like, oh, I'll do it for the family. And I get there and I was thinking, oh, I'll be able to like have some drinks and hang out with my older sister and blah, blah, blah. It'll be fun. And when we get on the boat, they give us a pass if you're under 18, because you have to check in with your passport, and everything on the boat, you like use one card to pay for stuff. And mine said I was under 18, so I couldn't drink. And I was so off when I got on the boat. I was like, I'm not going on. I'm over it. I'm a 17-year-old. Just been in Bali for a week with my mates too. So I felt like I was doing shit.
Yeah, so righteous.
Yeah. And then we meet one night on the boat. This is a funny story. We become friends with these guys and it's Hawaiian night. So me and these guys that become friends with my older sister were like, oh, Hawaiian night, we'll drink wine. So we'll like sneak into their room and drinking a bunch of wine. That day as well, we stopped in Fiji and like had kava and stuff on the island. Anyway, so we ended up drunk and then there was like this dance competition on the top deck and I was like hammered and end up, I think, like brown eyeing like a camera with a big screen. And then the security told me like to my parents, like, you got to put him to bed, blah, blah. I went to bed. I thought nothing of it. Felt like shit. And then in the morning, we get a letter under the door from the like boat captain or whatever, like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Chapman, we need to speak to you about passenger Cooper Chapman's behavior on the boat last night, blah, blah, blah. So I had to like, I was so scared. I hate getting in trouble. We ended up like having to go have a meeting with like the captain, my mum and my dad. And they were trying to like get me to admit that I was drinking underage and I just wouldn't crack. Like, they were like, were you drinking? I was like, no, I had kava on the bed, like when we're in Fiji and like kava can get you drunk. So I was like, it was just a kava. And they're like, we saw you go into this room on the security cameras, bottles of wine in the boy's hand and came out stumbling. I was like, yeah, but you don't know what I was doing in there. Like, none of your business. And then, yeah, I ended up getting away with it. But yeah, there were two stories where alcohol have fueled some interesting wild times.
Deny.
I'm probably not proud of it. My mum and dad were like, you can't lie to him. I was like, they don't have any proof that I was drinking. I felt like they were trying to trap me and like get me in heaps of trouble.
Totally.
Yeah, I got away with both of them and things I'm not proud of, but yeah, alcohol's definitely fueled a lot of incredible memories as well. So
yeah,
against it, but yeah, it's taken some time off, which is what I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we share those stories, Cooper, is it just highlights some of the stupid, dangerous, silly stuff that we've done when we've been sozzled, isn't it? But we're still here to tell the tale, luckily.
Yeah.
So we touched on that, Cooper. You're 28 and you've decided to take a year off the sauce. Let's unpack that. Tell us what led you to that decision.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been a professional surfer for the last 15 years in my whole life, and a lot of my greatest memories involve alcohol, but I also understood the effects it had on me. My dad actually drank quite heavily and had a bit of a problem with it and would make some silly decisions kind of throughout my teen years. So I kind of saw that. And then my mum put an ultimatum on him. It's over unless you make some changes. So my dad hasn't had a drink in 10 years, which has been a really good person to look to, I think, to understand that it is possible.
Huge.
And then, I just kind of been going through life, and now I have a mental health business called The Good Human Factory, where I go around and speak to students at schools and corporate groups about basically positive mental health and things that we can do that positively affect our mental health. And a part of that is my podcast, Good Humans Podcast, where I speak to a range of incredible people about their life journey and the best teachings they can share. So I've had a few neuroscientists on my podcast, and one I had on was this lovely lady by the name of Nicole Vignola back on episode 44 of my podcast. And we spoke about the effects of a whole bunch of things on the brains, from what we eat, how we sleep, gratitude, mindfulness, and then also drugs and alcohol. And on the podcast, she told like all the effects that alcohol has on our brain. And really, when you think about it, alcohol is quite literally just poison. I spoke to another neuroscientist about it too, who's the top in his field. And he's like, if they found alcohol and discovered it today, it would be put in the poison shelf in a laboratory, yet where it's the most marketed thing to us in the world. Like, it's crazy. So anyway, after speaking to Nicole, I was like, you know what? I'm going to pledge right now. I'm going to take a year off. And I kind of just spur of the moment said it. And now I'm like, well, I've said it on the podcast. I've actually made a few promises on the podcast I haven't kept. I promised Harry Garside that I'd take up ballet lessons like he did.
Oh, we love
Harry. I haven't done that yet. So I feel guilty that I haven't done that. But with alcohol, I was like, my business is moving at a nice pace, but I was like, I just want to give myself a good bit of time to really focus on achieving my goals. And alcohol was something that I realized was slowing down the progress that I wanted to have in life. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop. And I'm 5.5 months in now.
Congratulations.
Amazing.
That's so good.
Awesome, Cooper. Well done.
Haven't had a drop. Being
Wow.
Well done.
Wow, wow.
Massive effort.
Huge. Before you had spoken to Nicole Cooper, had you ever questioned your boozing before, or was it just every weekend, typical kind of binge drinking?
I think I'd questioned it for sure. I mean, being a professional athlete, it was always something that we know that alcohol isn't good for us. So I had stages where I'd pull back, and obviously while I was competing and stuff, I wouldn't drink until after events, but it was always used as a bit of a celebration or a bit of a escape the disappointment of a loss. So
yeah,
I definitely drank quite a bit, but I was always quite aware that, for one, because I'd watched my dad, that maybe alcoholism might be something that might be a problem for me. But to be honest, I never felt like I had a real problem, but it was just every weekend. It was just culturally what all me and my friends do. But yeah, it's just kind of been an interesting exercise now, realizing it's about you and realizing that not drinking is more of a personal decision. Anyone who doesn't support it technically isn't supporting your well-being. So I'd definitely been aware of it before that podcast, and it was something that I'd been, maybe I should take a year off. And then it just kind of made sense. I was like 28, 10 years of drinking. I mean, from my stories, obviously a bit more than 10 years of drinking. 10 years of legally drinking. And now, maybe like if I can't take a year off, then who's in control? The alcohol and the alcohol companies or me? And a lot of us will be like, I'm in control. I can take a month or two off. And it's like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then for me, the thing that's helped me the most is by I do a podcast episode each week talking about my experience, and it's just the accountability. Now I have to kind of report on it each week. I just feel true to myself if I have a drop. So I'm, I've got, which we'll probably talk about later, I have a part owner of a seltzer company, and we've brought out new flavors since I've stopped drinking that I haven't even been able to try, which has been an interesting little thing to have to go through, but it's also been a bit of fun. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Cooper, when was your first drink? How old were you? And I also wanted to know, leading up to this, because it was like a bit of a slow burn. You'd had seeds planted along the way until this episode that you finally decided to give booze the flick. So how old were you when you had your first drink, and when you had your last drink, was that a lead up to an event? Did you go, righto, this is my last drink, I'm going to really blow it up and send it out in style?
First drink, this is bad, but it's very similar to, I reckon probably like 13 or 14.
Yeah, it's pretty stock standard.
Probably like 14, 15, like 15, like most, or 15, 16 most weekends, like going and sneaking around and having drinks with friends. But I came from, surf culture as well, where I grew up, North Narrabeen, my beach. We used to have like every month our board riders event, and there'd be a keg of beer. And this is where my dad was drinking quite heavily with like all the boys, and they just wouldn't really take much notice. The kids would all fill up their beers with cups, and it's definitely a lot different now. But this is like 14, 13 years ago, where it's a lot less wokey parentism. It was kind of like teaching kids to like learn how to make the right and the wrong decisions yourself. So I'm grateful, to be honest, that I learned the way I did. But then there wasn't a real send out, to be honest. I'm trying to think back when I did it, because I was going to start it at my birthday at 28, but I actually started like 2 weeks before my birthday. But yeah, there wasn't really a big, I'm very lucky. I'm around so many incredible experiences, from like big DJ events. I have a lot of great networks that I can get great access to, big parties and free drinking all the time, which I've been around a lot of recently, and just learning to like look at it a bit differently. But no, there wasn't a single moment that I had a big send out.
What was your last drink?
I can't even remember, to be honest.
There you go.
It's just
what was your drink of choice, just out of curiosity?
Gravity Seltzer.
Of course. Boom. What's the website?
Leave a plug. But I mean, I enjoy like having a cold beer. I still enjoy like having a non-alcoholic beer. I think I quite enjoy just the taste of it. It has memories of relaxation and memories of just certain experiences beer. So I enjoy just having a cold beer. But if I'd go out, I'd drink anything like most of us. I'd drink cocktails here and there, but just sort of whatever I get my hands on, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you drink heaps normal? I think you've spoken about heaps normal in your potty before.
Yeah, the heaps normal boys are legends. I've been friends with them for a while. They're killing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We are
We're
massive
massive
fans.
fans.
We're actually doing a bit of a collab with them at the end of October
Awesome.
with a podcast with them. So, yeah, we're pumped for that. So you've already touched on a little bit before, Cooper, but as I was sort of listening to you, you've spoken sort of about that binge culture, which is such a accepted culture in Australia. And Meso and I were the same, like started, 14, 15, every weekend. There's always some reason to drink and just completely wipe yourself
And if
out.
there's not, you create one.
100%.
Yeah.
100% you do. But I suppose with Meso and I, we found that we started using booze as a vice. So it was like, a negative emotions popping up, quick douse it with booze. What did your drinking look like? Was it exclusively binge drinking, or were there times when you used booze as a bit of a vice?
Just kind of so many different environments that alcohol would come up. Like I'd love sitting around the dinner table and just having a bottle of wine with my mum. Like most nights when I was a tradie, juggling my surf career, I'd just love coming home and having a beer just to relax. And then obviously to go out and party, like alcohol was always fueling it. And then I just quite enjoy, to be honest, like having a cold beer with dinner while I cook dinner. Like I just sort of added into having it as any sort of drink, you know what I mean? Like if I wanted to just grab something out of the fridge, if I was cooking dinner, I'd grab a beer or I'd grab a seltzer, or it was, to be honest, there wasn't times where I felt like there was a big problem, but weekends would be binge drinking, and during the week I'd still have like a drink or two each night or every second night. Which now I understand how unhealthy that is, but yeah, we just don't get educated on it really.
Yeah. Could you back it up the next day?
Yeah.
How were you on the Sunday?
Terrible.
Oh,
Especially, everyone always says the older you get, but I'd sort of try and strategically base that I don't have to do anything the day after a night of drinking, which is one of the big reasons why I stopped, because I was like, I'm giving away a day a week to drinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just doesn't make sense now looking back how often. Like I understand maybe once a month. Like I think I probably will drink again once this year's kind of up, but in a completely different context than I did.
Yeah. Meso and I have often spoken about, like, you plan your life around your drinking, and then like even the next day you buy all your food that you're going to eat for the next day, all the bad, good, food that you eat when you're hungover.
Yeah, exactly. Have your Hydrolite and your Panadol and your glass of water before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Like it was a whole system to be able to manage a hangover. Madness.
Okay.
Well, then tell us, Coops, what's been... I've thrown Coops at you straight away into first name basis. Name basis. Tell us what the benefits have been with you experiencing since giving the booze the flick.
To be honest, just everything in my life has really ramped up and felt like momentum has shifted since stopping. And I'm not saying it's directly because of it, but the amount of things that have just started rolling forward from my business to my personal life that have really accelerated since stopping is quite noticeable. But one of the main things, I think, a few things. One is having weekends to actually rest. I used to think that a hungover day was a rest day, but it's not. Monday and the Tuesday are usually the days that you end up needing to rest. So learning that having a sleep in not hungover is so much more beneficial, and actually having the weekends to get that sort of life admin stuff you need done and go and work on your fitness and go and be outside and experience, you know what I mean, the days, whereas it used to be all about the nights on the weekends. And then just, trying to build relationships with people around that, whether it be hanging out with people in more of a fitness scene or catching up with people and talking about business and having dinner. And it's just changed the conversation as well. If it's not about where are we going out this weekend? It's what project are you working on? How can I help you? We're going surfing this weekend. Oh, sick. It's just changed a lot of my, and I wouldn't say I've lost friends, but it's definitely separated me from different people who were just mainly drinking friends, which is fine. And I was expecting that, but it's more so just been really noticeable that I'm focusing a lot more on myself and a lot more on strengthening relationships rather than going out and just trying to drink. But that's been a noticeable one. Obviously financially, it's we don't realize how much money we end up spending on alcohol. And just experiencing nightlife in a completely different way as well. I've still been going out to nightclubs and watching friends DJ and whatnot, and just taking notice of how people are and seeing myself in people, going no judgment at all.
Yeah.
But, wow, that was me so often. that doesn't look healthy, that doesn't feel healthy, and it doesn't look happy either. It just looks
the demise.
Messy.
Yeah, it just looks like escaping. And that was something that I did quite often. Whereas, yeah, I mean, we all have our ways to do that. But for me, alcohol was just kind of like a constant. And now understanding the kind of science behind it a lot more, and just questioning, like, wait a second, why like the media are allowed to push alcohol so much if they can't, like, I don't know. I just started to question stuff a lot.
Yeah, and educate yourself. The time factor, like you get so much more time, don't you reckon, in your life?
Yeah.
You're just like, all this time,
more time in the day.
Yeah.
I have been listening to your weekly potty coops, and I love tuning in just to see how you're going, because I've experienced that as well. And one key takeout is you're definitely a social cat. Like you're always doing stuff. And I love that you haven't stopped any of that. Like you're still going to all the gigs, and you're recently at the rugby. And you even said, like you said on the potty, it would have been nice to have a drink at this event. And I love that you're honest with that. Has there been any moments over the last 5 months where you've really white knuckled and thought, shit, I just want to grab a can of, I never say it right, seltzer.
Yeah, seltzer.
I never say it right. Yeah,
Seltzer.
and just rip the lid off it and just get into it. Has there been any white knuckle moments?
Not really, to be honest. I think because, like I said before, the accountability I've built into the podcast has made me be like, well, there's no point in even thinking about it because I'm not going to have a drink, so who cares?
Yeah.
But there's been moments where I'm like, this would have been nice to have a drink. Like I've spoken about it in the podcast, but I like hiked up to Mount Kosciuszko with a friend of mine, Ben Tudhope, who just got Paralympian of the Year, actually. And we were the only two people at the highest point in Australia, and he had a beer. So like that, just like moments, I'm realizing is like when alcohol, I believe, should be, great to have to celebrate stuff. And then, like, for instance, the footy I went to last week, my seltzer company just got a big contract to be the part to serve our seltzer at like 4 of the key stadiums in Australia.
Amazing.
And
That's
like
so good.
that was a hard one, like not being able to have a can and celebrate, and but it's just it's a decision I've made, and I want to stick to it. So there's moments, but I mean, I know I actually had a bit of a think about it yesterday. I was like, silly season's coming up, like summer's coming up. I'm probably going to get far more of those moments, but I'm also quite proud of it because anyone who asks you, it's like the interactions are so interesting. It's normally like, hey, do you want a beer? And it's like, oh, sorry, I don't drink. And it's like, oh, come on, have a beer. Like, come on, you hero. And then you try and explain it for a second and go, oh, no, I'm just trying to take a year off and like be genuine about it. And then most people will be like, oh, good on you. I wish I could do that. That's normally the response. I wish I could do that. And then it opens up. Then like, why don't you? Like, I can send you great information on it. Like, and just like, it's really cool to be a positive like influence on those around me because I know it's just a net benefit to them for their overall health.
I was actually at a party on Saturday night and I was drinking heaps normal, and I was chatting to this big burly bloke and he's like, what are you drinking? I said, heaps normal beer, it's non-alcoholic. And he's like, oh, and he'd never heard of non-alcoholic beer ever in his life. And he's like, how good's that? He's like, because when you go to a party, there's normally 1 or 2 people that are driving and they can have a heaps normal and they can have a normal beer. I'm like, like it's just that open conversation.
And that's something that I've been like really leaning into with the kind of articulation around it. And this is what a friend of mine, Scott, Luke and Sassy Scott, the big TikTok guys, I don't know if you know them.
Oh,
yeah.
So Scott doesn't drink either. And I was hanging out with them a few weeks ago and he goes, by stopping drinking alcohol doesn't mean you stop drinking. And we get it mixed up because people go out and go, you can still go out and have a drink. It just doesn't have to be alcoholic. Like, it's not like you're going to go out and drink cordial or water if you go out to a club. It's like once we start building more non-alcoholic options into menus, then it will allow people to drink less alcohol. Whether it be having 2 or 3 non-alcoholic beers that you can choose from, or imagine like being able to have a non-alc beer on tap, and a lot of them taste the same. It's just like you said, oh, you know what, tonight I'm going to be the guy who drives, so I might have 2 beers and then I'm just going to have non-alc beers for the rest of the night, so I can still feel like I'm engaged in conversations, I'm around people, it's a little less awkward, which has just been built because of our kind of our fear of not fitting in. But by having some sort of non-alc option, it's like I didn't stop drinking, I stopped drinking alcohol.
Andy from Etch says that as well. That's her little when people ask, why aren't you drinking? And she goes, yeah, I am. I'm just not drinking alcohol.
don't have
Like it's
alcohol.
simple as that. There's just no booze
Yeah.
in the drink. I like that.
We had the AFL, obviously, final down here recently in Victoria, and I'm a Geelong Cat supporter. And before the first bounce, I'd already smashed like 4 non-alcoholic beers because I was nervous. And then in the first quarter, I'd cracked open a non-alcoholic champagne and nearly drank the whole bottle. And I'm like, imagine if this had booze, and I would have missed the whole game. And I drove into Geelong that night and carried on with, the atmosphere, because it was such a fun atmosphere in the town that night. I thought if I was drinking, I couldn't have driven anyway. So, yeah. And again, that shows the nature of our drinking is both Mason and I would chug it, like just,
Yeah, real sluggers. Were you a sipper or a slugger, Coops?
Oh, a bit of both. I'd pretty well, but a bit of a sipper. But it's just so interesting. Like when you start to question like alcohol, like speaking of the footy, there's so much great data now that shows domestic violence on grand final nights, on a state of origin nights, spikes and goes up. So we've got data to prove that increased excess of alcohol is increasing domestic violence, is increasing mental illness. And it's just like, why are we allowed to market this so heavily? And then it just says drink responsibly. It's like, you just got to follow the money and just realize like there's so much money to be made in the alcohol industry. And like, I'm a sucker for it too. I'm a part owner of an alcohol company, but we're trying to be conscious to give a healthier drink option, but also have a non-alc version as well, to just start to encourage people to make healthier decisions. And when we're just bombarded by marketing and advertising around alcohol, like what do they expect? But we know that it's increasing domestic violence. We know that it's decreasing people's mental health, alcohol. And we're all saying in the media, like, we care about mental health, we care about domestic violence, yet we let all the companies and all the media be flooded with marketing. So it's like, you don't really care. You care about money, but you tick a box for social responsibility. That
it's a token gesture.
Yeah.
Well said. Coops, have you heard of the pink cloud?
No.
So the pink cloud is what they talk about in AA, and when you remove alcohol from your life, you go on this journey of clarity, which is what we've all done. You're in it now by the sounds of it. Breeza asked you earlier, and you talk about everything is better for you at the moment, work, those wholesome connections that you have with friends, which that's ongoing. But when you're in this pink cloud, when you remove alcohol, you're real up and about. Like the clarity is loud, don't you reckon? Like, have you experiencing clarity at the moment with everything? Like everything's just clear and fresh and you're just real up and about. Have you felt that?
Yeah, I mean, my life's just so hectic right now that I'm like starting a business and it's like I'm traveling heaps and in meetings with different people and doing podcasts. So I haven't really had too much time to I've been really conscious of trying to give myself like an hour or two to like meditate, breath work, read, work on myself each day. Yeah. But I've just been so busy, to be honest, to like even really take notice. But I definitely think it's just allowing me to execute all the big goals I've set for myself. It's like I'm giving myself every chance to be able to achieve them by not drinking. I think it's kind of like allowing me to, not have those hangover days, not have the planning for a party. It's like, all right, I can know that I've got a music festival on this Sunday night or Saturday night, but I'm not like, oh, what am I going to do on Sunday to like make Monday work? It's like, all right, I've got a music festival, but hey, I've got a marathon to run on Sunday as well. And that's cool. Like when I'd first just started not drinking, I went to an AFL game to watch one of my friends play on the Gold Coast and stayed up and watched him till 10. But because I wasn't drinking, I went home and went to bed and got up at 5:30 and did the Gold Coast Marathon. So it's like
unreal.
Things that would normally not like, you know what I mean? Things that are normally fueled by alcohol, I can still go and do them and enjoy the experience, just not get the downside of drinking from the experience. Yeah,
because Breeza and I felt around the 8-month mark of being on the sauce. Like Breeza certainly white knuckled, didn't you, Breeza?
Oh, 8 months. I was just craving alcohol. And Meso was the same, but
I just needed a mood changer. You got to this point where I just could have had some edibles, maybe had to smoke some weed or something just to change the brain. I was just in this sort of beige space, weren't we? It was interesting. So we're really curious to see how you'll feel. And I think it's quite common around the 8 or 9 month mark. We'll circle back around.
Heads up.
Watch out for that, Coops. Come back to us if you need a little prop
I
up.
would have just had to go through summer. So summer's going to be exciting. Like I've got so much cool stuff going on.
I actually did summer. I thought summer was easier than winter. I don't know why.
Interesting.
But I I think because I drank a lot of non-alcs during the summer, but winter is more of a red wine kind of phase for me, and there's not a good red wine.
Not any good red wine.
No, so I don't get that ritual that I would normally have, you know. And you've touched on this before, Coops. You will go back to drinking.
Yeah.
So when's your 12 months? When's your date?
I think the date is, I don't know if I'm looking on my phone. I've got my
2 weeks before your birthday.
Yeah, I think it's like yeah. But even like in this app, like anyone who's like looking to stop, I'm sure you guys probably have talked about. There's an app called I'm Sober.
Yeah, I think that's the one I've got.
Yeah. But even like I said, I save money spent a day, like $20 to $30 a day.
Yeah,
that's probably
on average
more than what I spent. But it's like I've saved $5,000. It says, but
where's that?
Yeah, exactly. Where's your Ferrari? No, ones of people like, you don't drink your coffee every day and you invest it, you $1 million in it. It's like, well, $70 off, bloody $1 million. But no, it's just good to focus that on in other places. But yeah, I think realistically, I'll probably have a drink for my birthday next year, my 29th.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And do you have any like thoughts on what your drinking will look like? Like
moderation?
Yeah, I think it'll just be less frequent, to be honest. I think like if there's a certain event that I want to drink at, yeah, sure. But I just think the kind of consumption for the sake of it will be gone. You know what I mean? They're like, beer for dinner. It's like, well, I don't really need to have a beer for dinner. You know what I mean? And just trying to like pick my moments. But yeah, I don't know. I'll kind of jump that hurdle when I get to it, to be honest. Like I'm not going to drink anymore, then I'll see.
Yeah. Can you keep doing the podcast? Because it'll be really interesting to see if it slowly starts to increase, which is often the case. And you actually go back to wwhere you were, and sometimes worse. We've had people talk about that.
29 and hammered will be the next year.
So yeah, it will be interesting to see, and because you're so aware of it, though, like I think you will, have a hold of it.
And that's the step. Like not admitting you have a problem. Like I don't think I had a problem, but admitting, just being curious to why we drink, and then also being curious to who's marketing us drinking and why, and just working out like if it's a positive effect on you. And like a lot of people be like, I need it for confidence. And it's like, yeah, but why are you not confident? Like what other things do you need to work on that'll allow you to be a bit more confident?
Yeah, too right. Going back to what you're talking about, when those moments, like when you're on Mount Kosciuszko and these little celebratory moments, or you've gone, oh, this would be really nice then. And moving forward, Cooper, are you having to do a bit of brain work? We talk about playing the tape forward, what it's going to look like if you have a drink and you're going to be hungover. That's like our little way of going, it's not worth it. Like it's a little bit of a weighing it up. Are you in that space at the moment? Like you've just clearly banned booze and just committed to it, but are you going to have to start talking yourself through a bit of coaching? What would that look like to talk yourself out of drinking? Or is it just a blanket hard no? Right
now it's like a blanket hard no. I'm kind of like, I've committed to it. I've made it public. I speak about it. But I don't really have it. And to be honest, it's made it easier because everyone around me knows it too.
Yeah. You haven't had that.
That's one of the things. I don't have to keep having that conversation. But yeah, I mean, because I've drunk so much for so long, I understand I have a pretty good idea of how it's going to feel and look when I have my next drink. But I don't know. I'll jump that hurdle when it comes. I don't like to really focus too much time on the future. So much can change in such a short amount of time that for me it's a bit of a wasted thought. So I'll just jump that hurdle when I come to it, to be honest. I'm excited to try my new seltzer flavors. That's the main thing.
Yeah. We are too. Oh, we are too. Ones.
Which let's talk about them.
Yes, let's go there.
My seltzer flavors?
Yeah.
So right now we have 3 alcoholic flavors and 1 non-alc, but we're about to do all 4 in non-alc and alc, which is exciting. It's just kind of, for one, there's a massive industry. The non-alc industry is like the fastest growing industry.
Massive.
Massive. So it's cool from like an entrepreneur and business point of view to be able to push the business in that direction a little bit, and I'll kind of be the face of the non-alc stuff, which is super exciting.
Awesome.
But yeah, so what do we have? We have so our new flavour we just brought out, the kiwi guava flavour that is only in ALK right now. So I haven't got to taste that, which has been. and everyone says it's our best flavour. So I smelt it a couple of times.
Yeah, I have a smell.
Haven't even put a drop on my tongue.
Well done.
So yeah, we've got kiwi guava. We have a melon flavour, ginger lemon, and then blood orange in our non-alc right now, and the blood orange is delicious.
So refreshing.
The blood orange tastes like those Araguna Schweppes drinks. So
yes,
delicious. So we do that. But we're bringing out the melon, the ginger, and the kiwi guava in non-alc as well, which I just think is going to be cool. Being able to, like you said, go out to an event and go, I'll have 2 of the alc ones, and then you know what, I can't have any more. I got to drive, but I still want to. It's like going to the footy in an hour. You can only have X amount of drinks before you have to drive, and then it's like water. It's like sweet if there's this other option. So that's what I'm excited with Gravity to be able to, start to shake up the industry a bit and shake up sort of that drinking vibe and be like, no, we're an alcohol company, but we serve low alc drinks, like one standard drink, low calories, and then once you've kind of felt like you maybe had enough to drink, you can still continue to drink, just not with the alcohol in it.
Love this. What a time to be sober.
But even just
it's cool that I am involved with a business that I stopped drinking, but I can just bring out 4 non-alcoholic flavors. So
incredible.
It's cool. And then I've done some stuff with Yes You Can as well. I'm sure you.
We love Tyler and Sophie.
Tyler's a legend. Yeah. Have you had him on the pod?
We haven't. He actually came to Bendigo. I'm based in Bendigo. I did a non-alcoholic event, and he came down for it, which was unreal. So we got to hang out for the whole day. Yeah. Bloody superstar.
He's such a legend. Yeah, he sponsored 28 and Sober for a month, and hopefully going to do some more stuff with them. But yeah, just being even in my fridge now, I have heaps of non-out, all their different Yes You Can drinks. And it's cool when my mates come over now. I'm like, here, try one of these. And it's just slowly not forcing it on people, but just hey, look, you can still have one of these and it's nice, but it's not drinking.
Yes.
And I love that the Gravity company is so inclusive. You're just inclusive to everyone, which is awesome. I love that. Yeah. I love that you're giving people options because everyone wants to feel included at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Tell us, Cooper, do you miss drinking?
Not really, not right now. Like I said, so many things have positively happened in my life that it's not, and I'm just so there's so much exciting stuff going on in my life. A lot of people drink to kind of create excitement, whereas my life every day I'm waking up doing it. This morning I woke up, I went and did a gratitude workshop with 50 people at a motocross store, which is brilliant. Rushed here to jump on with you guys. I'm rushing from this after to go and do this. This lady hit me up to come on my podcast because she does this mental health technique thing that Justin Bieber and people have been doing called havening. I never heard of it either. No. Anyway, so I'm going to do an hour and a half session with her on this new technique to lower stress and anxiety, and then I'm going to have her on the podcast to talk about it soon.
Incredible.
Then I rush from there. I've got a meeting. I'm working on potentially being on this reality TV show on young entrepreneurs, this American production company.
Oh, guys, you go.
And then I raced from there to a meeting with. I met this guy recently who basically created Yeezy with Kanye and the Victoria's Secret fashion show creative director. He's retired now, and I just met him through a friend, and he loves what I'm doing with the Good Human Factory and wants to help me build the brand and merch with that. So that's the Savo. So my life's so exciting. I really need alcohol to make it exciting.
That's amazing.
Amazing. We're in huge company here, Breezer.
I know. I'm mind blown.
I just it's so weird. Like I said, all these good things have really been started to get attracted to my life just by chance since I've stopped drinking alcohol. So
yeah.
Wholesome connections.
Wholesome connections.
Yeah.
We are going to start wrapping this chat up, Cooper. We have our one of our little segments is just a rapid fire questions. Okay, so you ready? Got your buzzer?
Good to go.
First question. Best favourite surf break in Victoria?
Favourite surf break in Victoria? Winky Pop.
What's that?
Next to Bells.
Oh, there you go. Favourite Fisher song?
Favourite Fisher song? The Girls. New one's pretty good.
Yeah, cool. That's a good one. Ultimate podcast guest on your podcast.
Meso and Breezer from Booze Free Bants.
I've got so many. Like, there's like a lot of big reach goals, like people that I look up to, like Jay Shetty, Simon Sinek, Stephen Bartlett, this guy called Mo Gaudat, who's like wrote this book Solve Happy that I'm reading at the moment, who's like this Google engineer and written an equation for happiness. And he actually got back to me on Instagram that he'll jump on next year. So those sort of people. Then like my sister's best friend Elodie's got an incredible story. I'm kind of sitting down with her next week. To be honest, it's like dream guests, but it's like the stories that you sometimes least expect are some of my favorites. So I just like getting into conversations with anyone and spending a bit of time without phones around and just really connecting with people. So
brilliant.
A lot of big guests coming up that are lined up, like Mick Fanning and Kelly Slater are both friends that I've been talking to that are like, yeah, we'll do it. It's just finding the time. So
again, they've both got stories that people probably aren't aware of.
Exactly.
Incredible.
And who is your hero?
Who is my hero? My dad.
Daddy, I was hoping you'd say that.
Mr. Chapman.
Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Chapman.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you, Cooper. We've got 2 more segments to get through.
Beautiful.
Phone, fucking with the PH, just wait and give it F for the call or text. Phone, fucking with the
Something you've done on the source and that you've done with your phone. Normally texting your ex is quite up there with what we've had in the past, but what have you got?
I mean, nothing specific comes to mind, but there's definitely been, I don't know, some getting home at late at night, you up messages out to girls at single stages in my life, but with no response and waking up in the morning to absolute regret. But I can't think of
We
anything.
love that.
Phones are dangerous when you're drinking.
I know, right? Put your phone away when you're drinking, Pete.
Yeah.
The amount of times I wake up with, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this, like so many stories of just dumb stuff. I'm like, I'll wake up and delete them all. Like,
They seem so good at the moment. Really in the moment.
Yeah.
And as a scroller, you'll often like sometimes you'll see, an influencer's put like stories up where they've been blind, and then 5 minutes later they've been all deleted. Be like, I can't unsee that shit.
Everyone just tries to cancel everyone now, and like I've got a pretty solid business and brand to try and represent. So I'm like, it's now the mindset's changed a lot around social media and stuff, but it's good.
Keep a lid on it.
It's time for the recommendation of the week.
I'll give you 2 kind of things. One thing I recommend that if anyone's listening that wants to kind of take their mental health a little bit serious, I do this thing called the 1% Good Club, which is Instagram accountability groups based around giving 1% of your day to your mental health. And hopefully everyone can agree 1% of your day should be able to be given to your mental health. And 1% of our day is 14 minutes. So on Instagram, every single morning, I send a guided 10-minute YouTube meditation to the group chats, and then every night I write 3 things I'm grateful for, and then everyone writes their 3 things they're grateful for. There's over 900 members in the group now. I'm like 450 days in a row. And it's crazy. Every week there's like 2,500 to 3,000 gratitudes written in by just complete strangers. It's free to join. And it's just a way to stay accountable, because we're 95% more likely to maintain a habit if we have an accountability group around us. So the 1% Good Club, it's completely free. If you send at the Good Human Factory a direct message on Instagram saying, I want to join the club, you'll get added into group of 100 complete strangers from around the world that just write what you're grateful for every day, and you kind of read everyone's, and it's just a positive place to give 1% of your day to your mental health. So that's a recommendation and a bit of a shameless plug, but it is something that I know for so many people has literally changed their life, and they say every day. So that's something I'm super proud of. And then another recommendation is for some reason, only just started listening to the podcast, The Diary of a CEO. Guy Stephen Bartlett from over in the UK, incredible, and has a lot of the guests that I said would be my dream guests, people that have been on his, kind of top thought leaders and public speakers and critical thinkers in the world. And he interviews them and tells their stories with really unique questions. So go check him out. There's a couple that I listened to recently, a few with Simon Sinek, who's an incredible basically thought leader around your why and your purpose. Jay Shetty, who's a very
master.
a master of a lot. Another guy called Julian Treasure. I listened to one with him recently, who's a speaking coach, who goes on to be like, we get taught how to read and write at school, but we don't get taught how to speak and listen, and talks about the importance of speaking and listening and why and how we can do it better. So that was a fascinating, but yeah, just be curious, have an open mind, go out and look for different ways to think. And the kind of mindset I try and live by is try and grow through life, not just go through life. And if we're constantly trying to work out new ways to think, grow, stop drinking alcohol, all these things are different ways to continue to grow. So yeah, they're my kind of recommendations.
Love that. You've given us a cracking quote there. Grow through life, not just go through life. I love that.
And I got Eric Butterworth, the quote, don't just go through life, grow through life.
Oh, love it's a cracker.
This. And I just must add, because I was across your 1% club, but recently friends of mine, one friend had just started sending his gratitude journal to me, like 10 things on his list. And I was like, this is so good. I'm going to send mine back to him. And then I've started to send it to 2 other friends, and they're sending it to me. And it is such a joy. Like, I always wrote gratitude journals anyway, but I was kind of just going through the process. I wasn't really engaged in it, but sharing it, I was so much more accountable. I was really thinking about what I was writing and genuinely grateful for it. And then, but then getting theirs, the ripple effect. I'm so happy with their gratitude. Like, it's extraordinary. Yeah. So well done on creating that on a, international wide and vast. It's incredible. So well done. Oh, Cooper.
It's been epic. Watching the community thrive is like, I literally did a workshop this morning at this motocross store, and one of the girls was like, I'm in the 1% club. And I was like, do you like it? And she's like, it's crazy. Like, I posted the other day, like, today's been a pretty hard day, but I'm grateful for this, this, and this. And like 20 strangers from all around the world started writing like, just thinking of you, like, you've been in my thoughts today. I hope tomorrow's a better day for you. And she's like, it's like, it feels good when people care about you, and these people are strangers, but it's like just building these like support communities that connection. It's just like, and what people are realizing is by having to write your 3 gratitudes at night throughout everyone's days now, they're trying to think like, what am I? That was a good thing today. Like, you start to look for those good things in your day, and it's it's a powerful thing.
It really is. I was looking forward to it. Like, I couldn't wait to get to bed to go, I can't wait to write this, and then I'll follow it up tomorrow, and you look at it and go, 3 things, 10 things, however many you can. It's extraordinary. It's a real game changer.
Yeah, it's epic. But
well done.
My couple of recommendations.
I'm going to join. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be all over your stuff.
How can people book your services? How can they find you? What's your elevator pitch? Give it to us.
So I mean, if you want to learn more about what I do, just go to thegoodhumanfactory.com. You can learn about the workshops that I run, from my Feel Good workshop, which is like an hour keynote that I do with corporates and with high schools, which has been super successful. I've spoken over 20,000 students in the last 18 months and over 1,000 corporates, which has been really well received, which I'm super proud of. You can check out and put a workshop inquiry on the website. There's a form there. Also, if you want to check out my merch that I do gratitude and all this kind of fun merch that's about making a bit of a statement and products with a bit of purpose. Whenever you wear it, you'll get a compliment, or someone will reflect on their own life and make their life hopefully a little better. So you can check out the merch as well. And then, my podcast, Good Humans Podcast, I do 3 episodes a week. From my sober episode on a Monday, Wednesday, I talk about the 1% Club and read out some of the gratitudes, and also talk about some resources and topics that I've found relevant and interesting to continue building my curiosity around mental health. And then Friday, I do a guest episode. So the podcast keeps me busy, but it's an incredible place, and the guests are all just phenomenal, which I'm super lucky to have the network I do. So check that out. And then, if you want to find me on socials, I'm just at Cooper Chapman or at The Good Human Factory to check out the business. But I guess all the things I needed to plug.
Cooper, that's amazing. Is that the T-shirt you're wearing? Is that your merch?
This one's the gratitude one.
It's so cool. I'm going to get straight on and
grateful for. Anyone as well who's listening, if you do want to get any merch, use the code podcast and you get 25% off too. So
we're straight on that. Just before we wrap up, I'm really curious, and I'm sure our listeners will be as well. How did this all start for you?
The Good Human Factory?
Yep. How did you get involved in this mental health space? Yeah.
So from kind of my dad's alcoholism, and I'd always had mental illness as part of the family sort of tree a little bit. My dad lost a brother to suicide when I was about 10. So I'd always known that mental health was something that was potentially going to be important to my life. And as we all know, it's important to everyone's life. And then my younger sister lost 2 friends in a fortnight in her last year of high school to suicide. And it was just a moment where I was just like, fuck, I want to do something about this. Like, I've been gifted this amazing life. I've traveled the world surfing professionally. Why have I been so lucky? And there's kids in my local area that are so unhappy they're taking their life. Maybe I can share the skills that I've developed through working with sports psychologists, through my own sort of quest through my own curiosity on how am I going to take care of my own mental health. And then, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and do something about this, and went to my old school teacher and said, hey, do you reckon if I put together a program, I could come and speak to the kids at our school? And he was like, yep, no worries. And did that about 2.5 years ago now, and it was terrible. I started, and then, it's just been constant trying new things, getting it wrong, growing. All my surf comps got cancelled because of COVID, which allowed me to lean a bit more into the business and go, okay, how am I going to get into more? At the start, I was like, everyone's going to book me pro surfer, come talk about mental health, easy. But now I've learned that it takes credibility, it takes building the data and testimonials to prove that what you're doing is working. But like I said, it started to take off the last couple of months quite a bit, which has been really exciting, but also just super rewarding knowing that I can go around every single day, whether it be from the 1% Club, whether it be from the podcast or my in-person workshops, and quite literally just change and challenge the way people think about mental health, because I definitely thought about it very differently from the media and from the way that we get communicated it. I always thought mental health was anxiety, depression, suicide, but now I understand that mental health is everything we do in our life, from what we eat, from what we think, from the content we consume. And once we can realize that our mind is so powerful, and once we realize that we need to take responsibility and we need to do certain things daily if we want our mental health to be good, we can't expect our mental health and our mind to have a six-pack if we never do any training for it. So just trying to encourage people to think a bit differently about mental health, and it's slowly getting there.
Oh, it's incredible, Cooper. There's no price you can put on helping people, so it's priceless what you're doing. So well done.
I appreciate it. Likewise with you guys with the podcast. It's really nice to see other people who are just trying to spread ways for people to think a bit differently and challenge the status quo to be the best versions they can be of themselves.
Oh, thank you, mate.
Thank you so much.
Nice, so lovely.
Thank you. You've been an absolute bloody gem, Cooper. I've loved this chat. And what a wise bloody head you have on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah, we want to morph you. We need like a gazillion of you, which you're kind of doing.
No.
It's the Cooper effect.
I get a lot wrong. Don't worry. I'm far from perfect.
Human.
Admit that, but I'm just open-minded to changing. If I get something wrong and someone tells me, I'll take the criticism on. I'll take accountability and have the humility to do that, I think now, which I think a lot of people are lacking. I don't think maturity is an age. Maturity is when we stop blaming our circumstances on things we can't control.
Oh, boom. There we go. Oh.
One thing I've learned from my therapist actually is it's okay to be wrong.
Oh, it's good to be wrong.
Yeah. It's good to be wrong. It's a learning opportunity. But now I see things through a different lens. It's amazing how many people just can't be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Great.
It's such a bad trait.
It's the most toxic trait ever. If you can't be wrong, then you can't learn and get better. Like,
it takes a hell of a person to put their hand up and go, you know what, I was wrong there.
Yeah.
Soz.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, we better let you go and get on to the rest of your amazing day.
Incredible.
You've got a bit going on. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being so generous with your time and your wisdom and for sharing your story. Keep doing the good work that you're doing, and we are looking forward to continuing to follow your journey.
Thanks so much, ladies.
Thanks, Cooper.
Thanks, Cooper. Well done.
Yeah. Bye.
This podcast is proudly produced by our audio engineer, music extraordinaire, Eric Ladd.
We love you, Eric.